Customer service is crucial for any organisation that deals with the public. The My Guide Open for Business service gives your staff practical training in sight loss awareness and sighted guiding, training which also helps you comply with disability legislation. In just a few hours, your staff will be confident dealing with the almost 2 million people in the UK with sight loss. And in turn, people with sight loss can become loyal and appreciative customers.
The My Guide Open for Business is about making sure that all the service industries are accessible to people with a visual impairment. We just thought it would be absolutely great if wherever they wanted to access, whatever service they wanted to access, there would be the support mechanisms in place. Not just the sighted guiding techniques, but really raising awareness about the barriers that people with a visual impairment actually live with on a day-to-day basis.
I think the hardest thing is to find a seat if the buses are busy and there's a lot of people.
This is important through My Guide Open for Business. It makes bus travel that much less stressful when you know somebody's going to help and you're not trying to flag down what you think is a bus and it turns out to be a lorry.
We have one lady in particular who always catches it, and she's partially sighted, and she always just walks down the bus on her own. But I didn't realise how hard it must be for her trying to find that seat.
The sighted guide training is about 3 hours. We actually do some training sessions that are more business specific. So we try to, particularly if it's the bus industry or a supermarket or a hospital, we try to actually work the training around what's right for them.
It's just an exercise. See how you cope with doing some simple things that we just take for granted. I want you to identify which chocolate bar is the Snickers. Make a decision then.
That one.
Take your blindfolds off and have a look.
I've got a Mars bar.
It's been received by our drivers very well. There's lots of things within the My Guide, very simple things, such as recognising when a partially sighted person or a blind person needs some assistance.
Well, I can see why they need this extra help, and especially on transport and etc. Yeah, I can see why now. Yeah, but it's a new experience for me. It must be difficult.
I always thought that the dogs that helped visually impaired people around, I thought they knew how to cross the road. It sounds daft, but I really did. But it's not. It's the actual person who's visually impaired that takes the decision to cross the road.
Makes more drivers aware of the needs of visually impaired people, and I think it has to be applauded, and I think it should be spread out more around the country, like in theatres or on trains, on trams, buses, supermarkets, banks, anywhere. It's endless.
My Guide is something that does need to be expanded and reduce the isolation of visually impaired people.
The advantage for companies who decide to go ahead with the My Guide Open for Business is basically that they'll encourage more customers to actually use their services, and they become more loyal to that particular organisation. It also helps them with actually ensuring that they're dealing with issues under the Equality Act to make reasonable adjustments.
Although they say bad news travels fast, so does good news if you get somebody that's done something right on disability awareness. And certainly, it's worth having it. It's worth having that certificate.
It is good for the business because there's 2 million people out there that are blind or partially blind, and we must be carrying so many of them. It's fantastic, this is. I've learnt so much from it. I can't wait to get somebody that's visually impaired waiting at the bus stop.
For someone with sight loss, taking the bus, going shopping or accessing a public service can be a challenge. With your staff trained to help and guide them, you can help make it what it should be, an enjoyable, stress-free experience. Give people with sight loss the same excellent service you provide to everyone else. With My Guide Open for Business, sight loss awareness training specially tailored to your organisation. Get in touch and we can talk it through. Phone us on 0845 372 7499 or email myguide@guidedogs.org.uk.